What's up, guys? So today we're going to spend some time talking about the Inkjecta Flite Nano Titan. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I'm going to let you know my opinions on this machine and give you the rundown of the specs like always, and give you my unsponsored review for what it's worth. Okay, let's jump right into it because there's a lot of information to get through, so I'll try to keep this short for everybody. This machine is the lightweight version of the Flite Nano Elite. This thing weighs 45 grams, which is even less than the Bishop Phantom, which was my last review. That one weighs in somewhere around 48 grams. The version that I got is the carbon fiber version. It just looks slick to me, so I figured I would grab this one, and I'm not sure if this is any lighter than the other ones, but I think it would be only incrementally lighter than the others. So let's have a look at the packaging. I've got it out of the package just because I've got a torsion bar on it. It's a little bit easier for setup for the video. Your packaging is really pretty bare bones. It's just the plastic Inkjecta case. Really simple, really small. And in it, you're gonna get obviously your Nano Titan, excuse me, and little setup guide right there. And you're also going to get the torsion bars. So you've got soft, medium, hard, and then a rigid, which is what I have loaded on here, as well as an Allen key. Okay, so let's talk about specs. 4.5 volts to a whopping 18 volts, which means this thing will scream faster than anybody ever needs a machine to run, I think. And I run a machine real fast. If you've ever checked out any of my videos, that's my biggest complaint with the machine is they're too bloody slow. They can't keep up with a coil. This machine does not have that problem. Okay, so I already talked about everything that it comes with. Let's talk about the add-ons. So from Inkjecta, there's tons of stuff that you can buy extra. You can get these little bumpers right here. So those are removable. You can swap those out to whatever color you want if you want to customize it. Also the cam caps, those are also changeable. You can customize those to any color, as well as the nut there, and cams as well. So it comes with 3.25 millimeter cam. You can also get a 3 millimeter cam, a 2.5 millimeter cam, 3.5, and I believe a 4 millimeter as well. Each one of those are approximately $25 American. The machine itself is a little on the expensive side, so it's $675 American. It works out to about $890 Canadian. So it's an investment. It's comparable to any of the major pens on the market, like the Scion or the Cheyenne, in terms of cost. And when you consider that you are also buying a grip or having to supply yourself with either disposables or I use the FK Irons grips, these ones, there's more costs associated. If you were to go to with an FK Irons grip, you're talking about $250 approximately to Canadian dollars to have this machine outfitted. So that puts you well over $1,000 just for the basic machine, no add-ons, okay? In terms of setup, if you're new to Inkjecta, which I was, it could be a bit daunting to try to figure out which torsion bar you want. Each bar has 3 settings, and you can turn the bars and give yourself an according amount of give and crispness of hit and all that kind of stuff. So I went with the rigid bar because I don't like a lot of give or slack in the machine. You would have to try a few different combos out to see what you like. You see a few of these machines coming up on the kind of secondary market being sold on Instagram and other sites. And I think that's part of the reason. It has more to do with somebody not being quite able and patient enough to dial it right into what their expectation of the machine is. So if you are willing to take the time, I think you'd be able to find the combination that's right for you. And especially with so many options in terms of cam and stroke, and also the bars combined with that. I mean, the machine's kind of endlessly adjustable, and certainly falling within the parameters of most people's speed tastes as well. So let's talk about the bad parts of this machine, okay? One of the worst things about it is power source capability. So I was running the Workhorse Irons power source. I like the look of it. It ran really clean power, but it only runs up to 12 volts. Now this machine, for me, I'm running somewhere in the neighborhood of 14.1 volts all the way to 14.5, depending on what I'm doing. And although the Workhorse power source would actually power it up that high, the meter ran out, so I didn't know what volts I was using. So I had to replace it with another power source. So you need something that runs higher than 12 volts. EMS 420, critical, you know, one of those power sources will definitely kind of fill the niche for you and be able to run power to this machine properly and know what you're actually running. A couple other things, all the add-ons. So if you want to try out a few cams and maybe you want to throw in their RCA cord, and maybe you want to change the bumpers, and maybe you want to change the nut, you end up easily over $800, $850 invested American dollars, so well over $1,000 Canadian invested in this machine over time. And if it works for you and you love the machine, then fantastic, you know, it's money well spent. But you know, if you're just trying out and you want to try out a couple different cams and you know a few different things like that, it can get pretty costly compared to competitors. So I'm gonna run the machine a little bit for you so you can hear. This is 14.1 volts. That's where I normally run. A couple things you're gonna notice is one of my other beeps, it's loud. So the torsion bars rattle around a little bit. You actually need to grease the torsion bars before you use them when they're going into the grip. It cuts down a little bit on noise, but it's still very noisy compared to the competitors. You're getting a fairly vocal machine. I tend to bag the entire thing as well. So the torsion bar will hit on the clipcord sleeve that I use, and you know, just noisy, kind of drives me nuts a little bit while I'm working, but it's a fairly minor thing. The other thing is the dreaded blue light. So I don't like distractions in machines. I like simple, non-flashy while I'm working. This blue light, the frequency that it's at isn't overly annoying. Like I don't really notice it, especially when it's bagged. It doesn't really bother me, but it's still there and I could do without it. Inkjecta says it has something to do with polarity of your RCA. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. I would assume it is, but is it necessary? Probably not. Is it a distraction? Not that much. So it's not like something like the Equalizer Proton pen, which has this oppressive blue light on every angle that's kind of shining in your face. And you know, I'm sure they were trying to copy Inkjecta to do that, but they just kind of picked the wrong frequency of light, I think. So the grips was the other thing that I touched on that I'm not a huge fan of. It's just because I'm happy using a pen. I like the ease of a pen and the cost associated with buying a good grip. And now every time I do a video and I complain about grips, there's always one or two people in the comment section that lets me know about a cheap company that's producing them, and that's fine and good if you're looking for an economical alternative. I tend to go more for quality and knowing that the equipment that I'm using is proper and not you know, not something that's going to fall apart in 6 months. And I feel that way with the Dark Lab grip, and I haven't yet to find a disposable that I like using with this particular machine. But you know, there are some good ones on the market as well. I just prefer a click. So let's talk about the good stuff, and then I'll give you kind of my overall opinion and what this machine is worth to me. So this thing is fast as shit. It will go till the cows come home. I've been running this machine for a couple months now, and I just wanted to be 100% sure of what my feelings were on it. Since the first day I took this out of the box, it has been used. I've used it for, large work all the way up to 23 mag. I've used it for small work all the way up to all the way down to a Type 3 liner, and I've had no issues with it kind of rising to every task, completing everything beautifully. And I think speed is a big factor in that. The versatility to be able to go way up or come way down is something that I think everybody should take notice of in terms of the companies putting out machines with restrictions of 8 or 9 volts and probably realizing speeds of 75 to 80 cycles a second when most of us are looking for something between 100 and 120 cycles a second. I think it's where a lot of rotary companies fail. So Inkjecta did not fail. This machine absolutely delivers when it comes down to how fast it can run. The weight is really nice. It's comparable to some other stuff. You almost have no weight in the back. The cord is kind of where you feel the most weight. And then depending on what grip you're using, obviously that's gonna kind of dictate how heavy this machine is. But in terms of hand fatigue and whatever else, I'm generally holding this machine for somewhere between 6 and 8 hours every day, 5 days a week, and very comfortable, and I have no issues with that. The hit of this machine is another really big thing for me that falls short with a lot of other machines. And this thing hits really crisp, really clean, it never bogs, it feels very solid, which is great, and again, lends itself to a lot of versatility. It's incredibly well made. The construction of it is really nice. The carbon version, at least, is what I have, and the kind of fit and finish is what you'd expect when you're paying that amount of money. I think Inkjecta has done a good job on that, and a good job on kind of some of the little subtle details, like kind of cutting out the back so that it saves a little bit of weight, and all the customizations I like. I will eventually customize this machine, I think, kind of black everything out, but in terms of what's in stock, they seem to be constantly out of stock with Inkjecta, so I'll just kind of wait for that to happen. And I think the last thing for me as a positive is just the way it feels when it's working. The machine feels really good to use, and I judge machines a lot on my gut. Is something rattling? Does something feel wrong? Is the noise oppressive? All those kind of things play into whether I actually want to pick up and use a machine every day. And I think that even though this machine is a little noisy, and it's not without its faults, every day I reach into my drawer and I pull out this machine, and I really do feel like I'm probably doing the best work of my entire career when I'm using it. So there's no bigger endorsement than I can give than to say I'm doing the best work that I can possibly do with this machine. I really feel like it's taken the place of the pens that I have. I have 3 Hawk pens, 2 Zions, and like a number of other machines that I never pick up, because I really feel like this is doing a more comfortable, better job than those machines. And it doesn't mean that those machines aren't good. I get asked comparisons of machines all the time, and I really try to give people, my opinion on them. I try not to review crappy machines, so they're all good options, but they all have their pros and cons. And I think for me, this one right now is what I'm reaching for every day. In terms of long-term use, I probably will go back to a pen at some point. I wish that Inkjecta would take this package and put it into a pen, because it would, to me, would be the absolute perfect tattoo machine. It runs just how I want a machine to run, but I like the ease of use of not having to fiddle with a grip and not having to oil a torsion bar and all those kind of things. I mean, I'm already tattooing enough. I'm making 2 or 3 hours of stencils a day. One of the reasons I use rotary machines beyond performance is ease of use and plug and play use. And I always find in this type of configuration, you're really not getting that. You still have to do a little bit of maintenance. Okay, so that's probably one of my longest videos. There's a lot to talk about with this machine, and at the end of the day, I absolutely recommend it. I think it's fantastic. One of my favorites that I've gotten to try out in a little while. So I highly recommend it if you want to check it out. I always try to answer questions and comments if you have any in the comment section. If you want to check out my work to see if my opinion is worth anything, the Instagram is @requiemtattoo_Anthony. I'll put it somewhere in the description of the video, so you can check out my work and see the work that I'm actually doing with this. Everything for about the last month and a half or 2 months will be with this machine. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate all of you. Take care.